Good morning, Nigeria. It is that time again, that time of the day, that beautiful morning, that beautiful program that sets you up for the day and for the week. Yes, it's Rise and Shine, reaching you live from the beautiful hills of Ibiakuran. And yes, I'd like to ask, how was your weekend? I trust it was going smoothly because mine went just as well as yours, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. We did have a lovely weekend. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I had a very refreshing one. I had to sleep a lot, had to
Wow.
wash, had to clean.
So you wash?
Yeah, I
So
wash.
television people wash?
Of course.
That's on a lighter note, actually. My name is Otobasi Tom, and again, I welcome you to the show.
And I am Frank Cizadet. Welcome to Rise and Shine. It's going to be amazing this morning, and it's going to be a very beautiful week.
Exactly, and still reminiscing on activities over the weekend, apart from washing, you would trust that there were a lot of events going on. A lot of people attended wedding ceremonies, funeral ceremonies, but we like to dwell on the wedding ceremonies
I
because,
know.
yes, it's a new day actually. So if you want to talk about the bad ones, it will perhaps set you off on a wrong note for the morning. So talking about wedding ceremonies, the comedian, celebrity comedian Macaroni, over the weekend has set the internet space ablaze with some wedding photographs that left a lot of persons confused whether or not this is actually another of his comedy kit or maybe it's a real wedding this time.
Well, when it comes to comedy, you can never be so sure whether or not it is actually a skit or it is the reality.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, we were talking about we're still dancing in the euphoria of Rita Dominic's wedding, and
Absolutely.
we've seen lots of movies with Rita Dominic playing the bride over time. And sometimes those pictures did surface on the internet, and persons reportedly claim she was actually getting married or she actually got married.
Mm.
And then, oftentimes she will come out and say, "Oh, nah, that was just a movie set. That was just, one of those things we do in the movies." I don't know what to say about Macroni. I mean, he's been one of the craziest person in the comedy industry so
Yeah.
far. And one would expect that if this wedding was actually going to happen, it was going to be a banger, and everybody was going to like hear about it
Mm.
years or weeks or months before it actually begin.
Well.
It actually came to be.
Mm.
But just waking up to this lovely video, laughter between him and the lovely lady, um, it's just one thing that Nigerians are eager to know. Was this actually a wedding or just one of those special skates that you just do to take people's mind off the regular skates?
Well, actually, it came after he announced his engagement with the popular Mommy War, and Nigerians were left as confused because if this actually is reality and not comedy, it should be another trailblazer. It should be another epoch-making event. It should be another thing for celebrities and all entertainers in Nigeria. It should be another event where we get to see the high and mighty as far as entertainment industry is concerned. But it seems to have been such a quiet one. Uh, Still, Nigerians are waiting for his reactions on this.
Well, I am certainly waiting for what Macron is going to say because all through the video, I haven't, I'm yet to see a place where you had Nigerians and reaction when it comes to stuff that has to do with people in the industry, and it's just a natural thing. I mean, any naturally inquisitive person would want to find out what actually went down for that video to surface on the internet.
Yeah, this one says, is the mommy was beside him. Muchu, Shay blogger no get sense again. Ni. Oh my god, that's really derogatory and not good enough. Well, lots of persons are still wondering. This one says, wishing you happy marriage life. The marriage will be blessed with good and godly children in Jesus' name. Ah, they're already
Amen.
getting married. Oh, blessings. It said it must be a comedy kit because Kim's mama and Isa B are in an open relationship. Wow. So the lady in picture is actually in an open relationship with another person.
But I'm kind of wondering, what is an open relationship anyway?
Open relationship, or if I want to give you a definition, should be a relationship that is in public space, everyone is aware of, and both parties have agreed that they should make their relationship public.
Okay. I agree. That's
I guess
the
that was
definition.
satisfactory enough.
Yeah, very satisfactory. But whether or not this is actually a comedy skit, I want to look at it from a different angle. Could be that this is just Macron's way of telling Nigerians the kind of wedding that we should expect when it's time for him to finally tie the knot, the type of costumes, the type of the setup that we should be seeing when its time actually comes to pass. So I think it's actually a good thing. I mean, there's nothing wrong in dreaming about that special fairy tale kind of wedding that you're just going to be there and happy and blowing your lover or the love of your life away, the different things that you're going to do on that particular day. So either ways, in as much as we wait for Macaroni to come and tell us what he actually did or what actually went down in that video, I think we just have to wish him the best.
Exactly.
And wish him well regardless.
Well, he's displaying marital goals. If it's anything to go by, at this point, we know that he's actually considering that angle. He might be taking that bold step anytime soon. In as much as this might be a comedy kit, it shows that Mr. Macaroni, the freaky of all, is ready to take that bold step. Daddy freaky.
I think it's about time he freaky somebody's heart instead of the account.
Indeed. He has really created a niche for himself as far as comedy is concerned in Nigeria. And you look at his comedy, you don't need a voice underneath to be laughing while trying to, stir you to laugh along. You just see raw comedy, raw talent, and uses real-time events to motivate people to, laugh.
It's an amazing personality. Is one of the persons that I kind of appreciate, although in the industry. The fact that he's been very consistent with his freaky comedy, and his pattern of comedies is not the usual. It's not the sensual aspect of comedy that we see on a regular basis. It's just mature. Sometimes it brings into comedy the family picture, the family image, the family background setting, and all of those things just goes to preach a lot of beautiful vibes around the Nigerian community, and it's a beautiful thing. I mean, apart from the fact that a lot of ladies, like he recently posted, when they meet him in real life, would want him to actually freaky their account. But that is expected anyway. This is Nigeria.
Interestingly, he likes to freaky your account number and all those things. 5 million naira, and then people will say, wow. But it always gets on, he always keeps on losing at the end of it, and it makes it really funny.
Yeah, but, if he actually gets to win 24 hours, it wouldn't make a lot of sense. I love the fact there's one particular skit that he actually was like, okay, after freaking the lady's account, he was, let me get in and then come out. But some other person who has been impersonating him or trying to be like him, just suffers at the 11th hour.
Yeah.
And the lady happened to go away with it, and it was like, oh my goodness.
Well, actually, the most interesting one that got my interest was when he was trying to get recruited into the Stingy Men's Club, and Don Jazzy was actually trying to recruit him to see if he has the real power to resist some of the freakies around. And then he said, Stingy Man, he don't mind him. I mean, that kid was extremely funny and very hilarious. And, well, something to look out for. You would like to know some of the profile of Mr. Macaroni. He's a Nigerian actor, comedian, entrepreneur, and social media influencer. He's popularly known as Orni. You're doing well. Yeah, phrase that he's been acting for so many years, and actually, well, in most of his skits he usually plays the role of a sugar daddy looking for a small side chick, and it is always full of adventure.
Oi!
Oi!
You're doing well.
Yes, we've been seeing Mr. Macaroni's biography, date of birth, and all of that, and quite interestingly, his full name is Dabo Adebayo, and his stage name is Mr. Macaroni, and he was born on the 3rd of March 1992, and he is aged 28 years. Amazing.
Quite amazing. And one of the most interesting thing about Macaroni is the fact that he went to 3 different higher institutions to study different courses before finally graduating from theater. And he's been an amazing person. And one thing, reading of that story, he said, like, he was like, I'm one of those persons who happened to attend multiple schools before finally settling down, multiple courses before finally settling down one course. So if you're having problems, please don't give up. Just keep moving.
Could that be the reason he's having multiple freaky before is not planning to finally settle down? Well,
you can never say.
Yes, his net worth is about $250,000 US. Now that is much for a comedian.
Well, in this era where the money is on the internet, it's not much. I can say it's gonna grow and it's gonna keep growing. Because as far as the internet is happening and things are happening, as long as it keeps making comedy skits and keep investing in other sides of business which is into, it's not definitely going to go down. Rather, it's going to keep increasing that network.
Yeah, he has grown really rapidly, and to think that he just graduated and then concluded his National Youth Service Corps in 2020, and this is 2022, and it's this popular. Well, I would say that he has had a very steady growth all through his career.
Well, one of the things that the COVID-19 lockdown did was actually shoot a lot of young persons to limelight, made a lot of persons celebrities, made a lot of persons gain that worldwide status and get to do a lot of things. So in as much as a lot of persons would say, or we would say, COVID-19 brought a lot of hard times, it also brought a lot of beautiful times, because I think that was like the most amazing period where we had a lot of creative minds, a lot of inventive minds come out into the media space, and then helped ease the burden of the COVID-19 lockdown.
Exactly. And still trying to get back into the background of Mr. Macaroni, and he said he's the last born in a family of 10. Wow. At this days where we're talking about 3 children, that means Mr. Macaroni wouldn't have been born in many families now.
Okay, so, well, I don't know about you, but a lot of persons want to go for 2, 3, but I think I still subscribe to that 6,
Are you in Nigeria?
Yeah, I'm in Nigeria.
Oh, welcome to Nigeria. you're still yet to get abreast with current realities.
Oh, come on. Those realities will change,
Oh, well,
certainly.
certainly.
Things change. Definitely get back to that era where, taking care of your children wouldn't be much of a problem, because we have enough.
Oh, well, I hope the change is not, because change is an ambiguous word that could mean quite a lot of things. Over time in Nigeria, we've heard the word change, and it means different things to different people.
Yeah, for me, change means positivity, change means advancement,
For
change
you,
means progress, change means, it means a lot of amazing things. It means if I had 100,000 naira sitting here this morning, change for me would mean I'll have 100 million in the next 10 years.
But there are always two sides to a coin. So if change means all the positive for you, it means you've decided to stick to the positive meaning of change, right?
Well, you can't stick to the bad side and expect good things to happen. If you want good things to happen, you have to stick to good things and stick with good people.
Now I'm having a new Francis on board.
Oh.
Good morning again.
All right, good
Oh,
morning.
well. Okay, still talking about Mr. Macaroni. He said Pastor Chris Oyakhilome has been one of his model and inspiration. So I don't know how he would have the international Pastor Chris Oyakhilome as his inspiration and still be this funny, because there's no relation to that.
Well, if you look at Pastor Chris and his ministry and his church, they are one of those, brands that promotes creativity, one of those brands that encourages people to follow their talent. If you
you're calling church brands?
Yeah, okay.
Denomination.
Let me not say one of those denominations that is into supporting talent. Let me not use brands.
Because it does sound like a business.
but if you look at it, the way churches are registered, it's registered as a business. So I might not be far away from it. But then, Love World, as they are called, one of those churches that really supports, entertainers, encourages talent, development. a typical church service would always have, you know, that drama department coming out to perform one drama or the other, the dance department coming to do one dance or the other, the music department coming to do, and all of those things just go to build the talent and the creative abilities of the individual. So I'm not surprised that, you know, Pastor Chris happens to be the one he chooses as a role model, or one of the persons who have greatly influenced him. He has not told us.
We track the progress. Watch Political Spectrum weekdays, 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m., exclusive to Spectrum Television.
The Nigerian police, which is the only one allowed by grossly abused. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the Constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigeria Police Force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian Police Force.
No, my Lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My Lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My Lord, the Matters Council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my Lord, but we can't be talking about cases which are in court,
Is
my Lord.
this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my Lord. These cases are in court, my Lord. I'm just reminding your Lordship.
My Lord, sorry, my Lord, I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
of state and government, Secretary General, distinguished delegates.
This was the Lagos Nigerian for Spectrum TV to recover 40 lives in State County.
Good morning. Here's Spectrum TV News Brief at 7:15. I am Francis Edit. First in the news today is a report that President Muhammadu Buhari has mourned the victims of an explosion that rocked an illegal refinery in Imo State, leaving about 100 persons dead. In a statement by his media aide Garba Shehu, the president also ordered an intensified clampdown on illegal refining sites across the country. Away from that, the presidency is blaming the delayed delivery of 12 Super Tucana jet fighters to the Nigerian Air Force to fight insecurity across the country on comments by those it refers to as the opponents of the Nigerian government. This was contained in a statement by the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Garba Shehu, titled "Predicting Nigeria's Collapse is a Perennial Pursuit of U.S. think tanks and policy experts." Still on security matters, Inspector General of Police Usman Baba has reportedly distributed medical equipment to police health facilities across the country. The IGP explained that the move was part of events to mark this year's World Malaria Day and admonished the police personnel to take full advantage of the health facilities in their commands and formations. In another development, National Drug Law Enforcement Agency in Enugu State has urged parents to closely monitor the activities of their children to curb illicit drug abuse in society. The NDLEA's Assistant State Commander, Drug Demand Reduction Department, Ajay Ejuche, stated this in Enugu City. On the foreign scene, Emmanuel Macron has won 5 more years as French president after a convincing victory over rival Marine Le Pen, who however secured the far-right's highest share of the vote yet. Macron won by 58.55% to 41.45%. In sports, Liverpool have kept push local rivals Everton towards relegation with a 2-0 win in the Merseyside derby. A 12th consecutive home league win for Liverpool cuts Manchester United's lead at the top of the table back to 1 point with 5 games remaining. We'll bring you details of these and more in the news at 12. I am Francis Adet. Back to the Rise and Shine crew to stay.
Government, Secretary General, distinguished delegates.
This was the Lagos Nigerian for Spectrum TV to recover 40 lives in State County.
Glad to have you back. The show is still Rise and Shine, reaching you live from the beautiful hills of Ibiakuren. And yes, we just got back from the news brief desk where Francis Ade took us through happenings across Nigeria and beyond. And we are back to continue with topical issues of public concerns, back to talk about malaria and its effect on Nigerians, their lives, their livelihood. And as far as Nigeria is concerned, malaria has been one of the biggest threats to public health. And of course, you would like to know that we are live on Facebook. We're just a click away on Facebook, on YouTube, on Instagram. So yes, share the link, like, and let your friends get to find out how they can prevent themselves from malaria and possible solutions for malaria crisis, because it is already a crisis as far as public health is concerned.
Well, malaria is one of those, diseases that has refused to go away. One of those health problems that has refused to go away, especially in Africa. And practically because of the way we handle it, the kids' gloves approach given by government, given by medical practitioners, basically. And then the World Health Organization will tell you that every day across Nigeria, across Africa, across the world, you have more than 40 million people, being taken down by malaria, and then that is minus the number of deaths that is being recorded every year as a result of malaria, especially in the sub-Saharan Africa. And then these things are just simple things that could be prevented, simple actions that if we take deliberate measures individually to make sure that, the mosquitoes, who happen to be the #1 carriers of these malaria parasites, not breeding in our environment and not breeding in our space, we'll be able to take care of it. And then the issue of sleeping under insect or mosquito treated net, and then is one challenge that we have. It's sometimes funny around here when you go around and you see treated nets or mosquito nets that were distributed by donor agencies and sometimes government agencies being used as guards or some kind of security fence for water leaf birds and farm environment and all of that. But then, looking at the World Malaria Day being celebrated today, I think it's one of the times for us to create awareness, to talk more about the consciousness of being aware of our environment and the fact that in as much as a lot of persons might think malaria is not a big problem, there are lots of persons dying as a result of malaria on a daily basis within and outside Nigeria. And so you should take extra care to take care of your health.
Quite frankly, World Malaria Day is today, of course, and it is celebrated annually at the world over to focus global attention on malaria and also the devastating impact on families, communities, and societal development. And statistically, Nigeria stands to be the the country with the highest ratio of malaria in the whole world. And of course, when you talk about it, malaria remains a significant public health challenge, and that to a large extent shows, like you've said, it's because of the region with which we live. Predominantly, the southern part of Nigeria has malaria round the clock, year round, while we have in the north about 3 months or the short period that you have rains there. And due to the topography of the south, the waterlogs that we have around this area and all of that, then it tends to breed more mosquitoes than in other parts of the country where you have dry lands and all of that. So yes, malaria is predominant in Nigeria, and most predominantly in the southern part of Nigeria. But there is a lot that we can do to add up to what government is doing in terms of policies and all of that. There's a lot that humans and individuals can do to prevent or secure themselves from malaria. You talked about mosquito net, and it reminds me of when the 2022 budget was being defended at the floor of the House in the Senate chambers. I heard that the Minister of Health actually came up with a budget of about 20-point-something million naira to buy mosquito nets to cope malaria. Now I'm looking at why should we be taking that kind of approach at this time, and this year's theme is hardness innovation to reduce the malaria disease burden and saved lives, to align with and all of that. So you're talking about the aheadness of innovation. Is mosquito net really innovative at this point to tackle malaria? I don't think, how many persons actually, look at the attitude of persons towards mosquito nets. I mean, if you go through where they plant water leaves, you will see mosquito nets all across. They're using it to cover the water leaves from pests, so that pests don't attack the water leaf. How many persons do actually sleep under mosquito-treated nets in Nigeria? Those are issues that at this point Nigeria should begin to address.
Well, when you're talking about harnessing innovations in order to tackle a particular disease or health challenges or health crisis, it goes past just, trying to buy those simple things that wouldn't necessarily make a lot of meaning. One of the things lacking in the Nigerian space is that we do not pay attention to research. We do not pay attention to statistics. We don't even have statistical data to to help us take informed decisions as government most of the time. Like you rightly mentioned, there are a lot of persons who find it difficult to sleep under mosquito-treated net, and especially given our power situation in Nigeria. I mean, it's already hot, and then you're giving me a mosquito net to sleep in. A lot of persons would naturally push the mosquito net aside rather than, stay inside there and choke to death while trying to avoid being bitten by a mosquito and then catching malaria. But at this point in time, talking about harnessing innovations, I think what Nigerian government needs to do would have been to understudy the Western countries who brought this malaria in the first place, or who first, get to discover malaria, get to understudy how they've been able to, curb malaria to a significant, all-time low ratio, and then imitate or copy from what they have done and possibly improve upon it, or even use as it has been given.
That's the word, improve upon, because I would say Nigeria has been in the place of copy and paste. And now you would understand that as far as geographical differences are concerned, what works for A might not work for B. So it's not enough to look at what the US, for instance, is doing to, cope malaria over there. And you would understand that to start with, they have a proper waste disposal system. To a large extent, waste disposal is the major factor, because you look at our waterways, just move through every street in New York and tell me which street is not clogged by refuse bin in the gutter, in the waterways. And then with that being said, mosquitoes are breathing there. That place becomes a habitat for mosquitoes to breathe. I'm not sure you'll find that in Sena climes. I'm not sure you'll find that in the States. And starting from there as an angle, and you say you want to do maybe take a clue from what the US is doing, or how they were able to achieve a malaria-free society and bring it down here. It would take specific details, specific things that are, accrued to this climb to attach and make that particular policy workable for Nigeria.
Well, I think at this point, Nigerians need to grow past dependence on different foreign bodies for help. And that might be very difficult to do, because as present, we're having a lot of brain drain situation, especially in the health sector, where you have a lot of medical doctors, a lot of nurses, a lot of other professional medical fields traveling out of Nigeria for greener pastures outside the country because of the poor service state of the country, poor remuneration and all of that. But I believe that if Nigerian government is able to, develop that political power to invest in the health sector, invest in research, scientific research, invest in the brains that we have, we will be able to, get better and get past some of these crises. Remember, everything like a lot of persons would say, when the sickness that comes to Nigeria, the diseases or the pandemic that comes to Nigeria happens to be something that deals with the elite members of the society, you have the Nigerian, that is when you know that we have a Nigerian health sector that is functional, that is capable, that has the abilities to handle whatever. Like in the case of the Ebola virus that came and we had Nigeria stand up, we had a medical expert stand up, and then we were able to even give guidance to other countries of the world. So if the Nigerian government develops such will across borders and then takes practical steps and measures, we will be able to curb malaria.
I feel malaria is no respecter of political class, it's no respect of social class, it's no respect of social structure and any of those. Because frankly, mosquito is found everywhere in Nigeria. Regardless of how much you've fortified your house, yes, if you constantly fumigate your environment, you might just be free a little bit, but then not for a very long time. Not very, very long time. Everybody that lives in Nigeria has had a case or two about malaria, and you know that there is a disease that Nigerians like to treat all the time. If you have headache, then it's suspected to be malaria because you must have been exposed to either at your workplace, in your home, in the church. As far as you live in Nigeria, you are at risk of malaria.
Yeah, it's the truth, but you know, these elite members of society that have a way of, you know, constantly being medically checked, constantly being given proper medications and all of that. So you don't expect the average Nigerian person who doesn't have the wherewithal to, you know, regularly go for medical check up as being advised by medical professionals and all of that. So in the long run, it is still the common man who suffers most when it comes to issues of health. But I believe that we can get past it as well if we take deliberate efforts. I know that there is no way you can possibly help as a person. Even if you happen to keep your environment clean, keep your house clean and safe from mosquito bites and all of that. When you go to your work environment and possibly you have one of those amazing work environment that the work ethics and cleanliness and all of that is incorporated into one, and everybody takes responsibility, so your work environment is also free of mosquitoes. But then what happens from the distance you move from your house to the workplace? What happens in between when you move from the workplace to the church? What happens from the church to the market environment, and especially the market environment? So there is no way you can escape those things. So basically, it's more or less an issue of Nigerians taking their health into their hands as usual and making sure that, you know, in as much as you know that one way or the other you're going to get bitten by a mosquito, you get to take care of yourself in order to avoid, you know, falling down.
Of course, and then here's the statistics. According to World Health Malaria reports, Nigeria has the highest number of global cases, about 27 of global malaria cases, and also for the highest number of deaths, 23% of global malaria deaths. Now that's massive.
Well,
at a point it was said that Nigeria has, that malaria is the highest killer as far as health challenges is concerned.
Well, as far as diseases are concerned, in fact, as a matter of health, everything that concerns health, you will always find that Nigeria carries the number one or is ranked one of the top most when it comes to ranking and statistics. And that's because it was one of the most populous nations in Africa, and then our government is not really doing much when it comes to health. Remember, I think we mentioned when we were talking about, this is genetic disorders such as sickle cell anemia and issues like that. We were still told that Nigeria is ranked, I think, the first or the second in the position. But then this is a country that has done little or nothing about awareness, little or nothing about sensitization. People rarely get to go for genotype tests. Couples get married without necessarily checking their genotype to see if they are compatible, and then churches are not even paying attention. Churches rather pay attention to other frivolities that don't really matter. And a lot of things just keeps going into place. So until we as a people get to know that, I mean, if we continue and consistently stick to the burdens that we're carrying, I think, for instance, the case of sickle cell, at a point in Nigeria, we might not have an active labor force that will be able to do the job that is required, because you have a lot of persons going down with the sickle cell syndrome, and then the workforce will be down, and then you have issues of people coming in to take the job that are meant for Nigerians.
I feel the church is doing quite a lot with regards to marriage counseling and how couples get to, get with it. Practically every denomination has what is called a marriage committee, and then that committee takes care of trying to understand the health conditions of these individuals, tries to understand their previous relationships and all of that, and maybe guides them and teaches them on what marriage is and what not should be accepted as far as marriage is concerned. And one of the criteria to get whether the most of the churches that we have today is that you must present your genotype test, your HIV test, which of course a lot of persons will say is discriminatory against people living with HIV, and they have ensured that they've worked that through, especially with the Pentecostal churches and the Orthodox as well. They are, of course, you know, it's innovative. They are also towing that line as well. So to a large extent, reality of compatibility as far as the genotype is concerned, as far as the genotype also, because SS, AA could pair, but AS and SS might not have a very smooth ride as far as childbearing is concerned. So they would need proper professional guardians, and yes, the church is doing quite well in that angle. We're talking about malaria and how people, the consciousness in the hearts of people on how to get routine checkups for health conditions or possible health challenges they might have is something that is not a culture in Nigeria. And you know, Nigeria is at the moment transiting from when our forefathers really relied on the herbs and all of that to where people are getting to embrace technology and the medicine and the new medicine that we have now. So yes, the consciousness, for some people that do even have the consciousness, another factor might be the finance. So quite a number of factors are affecting Nigerians, from, you know, getting routine checkups and understanding what's really their health condition at a particular time. And that again, to a large extent, has led to self-medication, which is another angle of a concern as far as health issues is concerned in Nigeria.
Well, when it comes to health issues, malaria we know is a problem. Malaria we know we can tackle if we want to. Malaria we know can go away from the Nigerian space if we want it to go away. But like you rightly mentioned, a lot of persons don't pay keen attention to their health. A lot of persons in Nigeria are not proactive. They're not practicing the preventive medicine. They're practicing the medicine after death kind of situation where you wait until something happens.
To the beach, then we cross it.
Then you know, when it happens, that's when everybody starts rushing. You know, and that is like one of the worst things that can possibly happen to a nation, because it is easier and far cheaper for you to prevent something from happening by taking the necessary steps than actually going to find the cure. The medical expert will always say that you know, it would cost you a lot more to get cured of a disease rather than it would cost you to actually prevent it from happening. So when you talk about prevention, how do you prevent malaria from happening? Yes, you're exposed to mosquito bite. Yes, you cannot take away that fact that in as much as you might do your part, one person or the other person might not do their part and you still get exposed. So what do? Eat healthy diets, drink water, and you know, just
boost your immune system.
Eat fruits. Just make sure that 24/7 your system has enough power to fight off the malaria parasite. And when you do that, I mean, you're going to stay away from the hospital. I've been in situations where you know, I've seen people who stay a year and they don't get to treat malaria, and you don't see them falling ill because of malaria. I've been at that position when I'm very careful about what goes into my system and what doesn't go in. But on other occasions, you know, I've also fallen ill to malaria. But then, considering the two situations, I am of the opinion that we as Nigerians, as we mark the World Malaria Day rather today, should be more concerned about preventive medication, should be more concerned about not catching the bug before finding the solution, should be more concerned about what goes into our system and building our immune system in order to avoid getting down to malaria. And especially for pregnant women, you know, a lot of persons take for granted that when a woman is pregnant, you also have to be extremely careful as to the environment she's you know, exposed to. And medical experts will always advise that, you know, pregnant women should not shouldn't be allowed to be in an environment where they can, you know, catch the malaria bugs, because sometimes, especially in the early stage of the pregnancy, it could be very dangerous to the woman and the child. So it's a call for all of us to be concerned. It's a cause for us to be proactive. It's a cause for us to be deliberate in our individual actions, in our collaborative actions, in order to make sure that one way or the other we do the right thing and kick malaria out. But then the most greatest obligation rests with the government of the day. They need to put policies in place. They need to, you know, take our health sector more serious, invest more into the health sector in order to get things actually working properly. Like you said, a lot of persons can actually go for malaria tests, but we've had situations where you go for malaria tests and somebody tells you don't have malaria because the chemicals that are used to run the tests are expired. And because they are expired, the person cannot give you the right diagnosis. So you go back to your house feeling you don't have malaria, and then, you know, you're still feeling that, having that fever occasionally, you're still having that headache, you're still having that, you know, body pains and stretches and all of that. And you kind of wonder what is really happening. So it goes down to a lot of things not being done right in the medical sector. And once that is done, I think we are going to be able to, you know, we're going to be able to solve the issue. But then, like, I think there's a train of thought you started about people who want to, who don't even think it is proper to even go for a test, or persons who have phobia for going for medical tests, that once they feel a little headache, it is malaria, cough, malaria, fever, malaria, weakness, malaria, some slight pains in the joints, malaria. So everything for them is malaria. And so when they get to take one malarial drugs, which leads to the drug abuse you talked about, they take the first malarial drugs, you know, the headache is gone, but the fever is still there. So, oh, I'm not reacting well to these particular drugs. They go for the next drugs. And then maybe the fever gets to go and the headache goes, but the cough is there and the pains are there. I think I need a third malarial drugs. And they go for, and they keep going until, gosh, we just need help.
Well, talking about help, government is doing its best in terms of trying to get money from other banks and innovations. You'll be aware, I'm sure you're aware, that there's a vaccine for malaria, which of course is yet perhaps maybe awaiting sponsorship from foreign bodies before distributed nationwide. But the government of Nigeria has secured credits from 3 multilateral banks, of course, the World Bank, African Development Bank, and Islamic Bank, totaling the sum of $365 million US, and this is to fund the health sector intervention in 13 states of the Federation for 5 years between 2020 to 2024. And of course, this year is also included. And talking about health ties, the public health care system makes 67% of all healthcare facilities is divided into 3 levels. That's the federal government, the local government, and of course the national primary health development agencies. So those are some of the developments, some of the strides the government is pushing through to ensure that we have a malaria-free society. Then the federal government also have budgets that covers tertiary care. They also have disease control programs, and this goes across 83 tertiary healthcare facilities across Nigeria. And if this is anything to go by, if this is followed through efficiently, you will see that to a large extent malaria would be a bygone issue by 2024, because that is the whole idea. And the state health budget covers secondary care that are about 3,992 secondary facilities. So yes, government is bringing help to the people, and perhaps it's something to hold on to and ensure, like I've always said, everyone has their own a role or two to play. If we can ensure to keep our basic environment clean, keep the gutters before you clean, avoid pushing waste into the waste bin and all of that, we would ensure that to a large extent, with the actions the government is taking, plus our individual collective responsibilities, then we could achieve a malaria-free society by 2024.
Well, I wouldn't say government hasn't tried with the different programs and activities that they've put in place in order to help the health sector, but I still believe, like most Nigerians would say, that a lot more needs to be done. I mean, if you're talking about 13 medical facilities, 13 states, what happens to the rest of the different states in the country? What happens to the rest of the facilities that cannot be accessible?
Like I mentioned before, there are regions that are really prone to malaria, and South is one of those. You would know that we have less of water in the north. and you have more of dry lands there, the deserts and all of that. So mosquitoes don't breathe in a dry place. That's why if you see dry seasons and you are able to rid your environment of stagnant water during the dry season, you won't even have mosquitoes around you. There's no way you would have it. So it basically boils down to ensuring that our environment is clean. Now the rains are here. There's a little or not much that we can do to save ourselves from stagnant waters, but we can ensure to just keep it clean, because if it is clean and does not grow algae, we might not have mosquitoes breed there.
Well, I just hope that whatever is being done gets done properly, because it's one thing for the government to actually release the billions of naira or billions of dollars into the health sector in order to get things going, medically speaking. But then it's another thing for those entrusted with those facilities, those entrusted with those funds, to actually utilize them for the interest of the masses. I mean, talk about the mosquito nets, for instance. We've seen situations where mosquito nets are being brought to the different government agencies, and rather than distribute them to people, it gets given based on slots, based on who knows who, based on constituency or people who have been loyal to a particular person. And then sometimes I've had situations where maybe you walk into the house of a medical expert, a top medical expert, and then you find cartons of mosquito-treated net just lying there, and the person just takes one at a time and uses with his family members or gives to whoever he feels okay to give. And then you still have a lot of persons out in the society waiting for these mosquito nets to help their life. In as much as we know that Nigerians most times don't get to do things, but a lot of persons will definitely appreciate government's effort if they get to the right person, get to the right hands of those who actually need the mosquito net. And then, like you rightly mentioned, I think it's about time that we get very deliberate about preventive medicine. Because if you get preventive, then you're going to save yourself a lot of trouble from, actually falling ill. They say health is wealth, and when you stay healthy, you can have all the powers, you can have all the dreams, and you can achieve all of those dreams. But when you're not healthy, you can just wake up the next day and it is a story for the gods, and one will begin to wonder, oh, is this not somebody that I saw last night? I mean, we've had cases of persons dropping dead as a result of acute malaria. Persons who naturally seemed very healthy. Maybe you saw the person today, and the next thing you're hearing, the person is dead and gone. And you're like, what happened? And you said nobody knows. And then maybe trying to unravel the cause of the death, you find out it was acute malaria that was not taken care of. I think we've had situations reportedly of persons running mad as a result of acute malaria that was not being treated. And so I think not too long ago we had an issue of, I think, a University of Uyo student who was found at the dump site, picking things to eat. And then it went viral on the social media, and people were just interested in filming her and putting it on the social media and calling for persons who know her or know her family to, get help. Rather than actually help, it took the efforts of some, good citizens within Akwa Ibom State to actually take the girl away from the dump site, and then get to find out that this girl was taking too much time into studying and forgetting her health, and as a result, the malaria had gotten to the climax, and then she just lost control, and all she needed at that point was just a test to ascertain the level, and then possibly find the best possible drugs that would be able to contend with the situation. And then after that was done, she was back to her normal senses. So a lot of things happen when it comes to malaria that we take for granted. It can actually get past just you feeling that slight headache, just having that cough, just having that little fever, just having those cramps in your joints and those pains, and then shivering and getting under your clothes. So before it gets to that point, it's best that you take proactive measures, and those proactive measures basically boils down to eating healthy diets, exercising and drinking water, and keeping your environment clean. Those are just the simple things that we can do individually, collectively, from our home front, from the church environment, from the office environment, to make sure that we avoid this parasite that carries the mosquito that carries the parasite, and then help ourselves. And then if government effort should come, please, don't be like some of us who cannot sleep on that mosquito-treated net. Try as much as possible to treat, stay under the net, and then heat will come and go, but you'll still be fine.
Of course, when you talk about mosquito-treated nets, it cannot be overemphasized, especially for pregnant women and for nursing mothers and for children under the age of 5, because they are the set of persons that are very prone to contracting malaria. With that being said, for individuals that have access or they are grown or that falls even under that range of people who might possibly at high risks of contracting malaria, there are provisions. Yes, there are health centers. All this money has been, pushed forward to all primary health centers, and malaria test is very affordable. For those of you who may not know, now malaria test is as cheap as 400 naira in any private primary health center. So it's just basically making it a routine and being conscious that you're responsible for your health to be able to walk to a primary health center and get yourself tested. Now there's this sensitization that is ongoing. Check 'em, make you check 'em. Now we're so used to the consciousness that you have headache, like you said, then we attribute it to malaria. Now because those are basically symptoms of malaria. But then headache can also be symptom for another thing. If you check or if you want to research, you would understand that headache means a whole lot of things, depending on the time and the situation, or perhaps which part of the head is paining you. So yes, it's a symptom of malaria, but you cannot just conclude at every time that whenever you have headache, whenever you have a cough or cold, then it's malaria. It is always very important to get tested. And like I have said, it is simply as cheap as 400 naira at any primary health facility that is closer to you. So get tested first. And it will also interest you to know that it is very cheap. Now, if you want to go the self-medicated way, or you want to treat yourself by yourself and you get over the counter to get drugs, you will find out that you spend up to 4,000, 3,000 naira getting malaria drugs. Then how about you get yourself to a primary health center? 400 naira, get tested. Okay, this is the level of malaria that you have. Judging by that, they could know the kind of medication prescribed for you. And you can also get treated there as cheap as 2,000 naira. Now, which one is better? To treat yourself by yourself? And yes, I know we had herbs, and yes, the argument is always that our forefathers were able to take care of themselves without all these chemical drugs. But yes, our forefathers did that. But yes, God advanced technology in our time. Do we still stick to the ancient technology that was not properly measured? Yes, if those things have measurement, proper measurement, if people can wake up to research and actually convert those to drugs that can be preserved and measured according to body weight and intensity of a particular condition, then it will be much better, because cases with the herbs are always most likely overdose and all of that, because without the right dosage, you might not know how well to treat a particular condition or how well or what not to take. But yes, we'll take a report on malaria, and when we return, we'll be looking at some innovations that can be, involved or can be introduced to coping malaria, and that will happen after this time out. Don't forget, we're live on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Instagram. So do well to join us and drop a comment or two, and let's get talking. Yes, we'll be back after now, so stay with us.
World Health Organization celebrates World Malaria Day each year on 25th April to underscore the collective energy and commitment of the global malaria community in uniting around the common goal of a world free of malaria. Today, no single tool is available to solve the problem of malaria. Innovative new tools are vital if the world is to achieve global elimination targets, including innovations in new vector control interventions and insecticides, improved diagnostics, and more effective medicines, among other tools. Under the theme, Harness Innovation to Reduce the Malaria Disease Burden and Save Lives, this year's World Malaria Day will draw attention to the critical role innovation plays in helping to achieve global elimination goals. WHO is calling for investment and innovation that bring new vector control approaches, diagnostics, anti-malarial medicines, and other tools to speed the pace of progress against malaria. Despite steady advances in lowering the global burden of malaria between 2000 and 2015,
progress has slowed or stalled in recent years, particularly in high-burden countries in sub-Saharan Africa. Urgent and concerted actions is needed to set the world back on a trajectory toward achieving the 2030 targets of the WHO Global Malaria Strategy. Malaria is a preventable and treatable disease that continues to have a devastating impact on the health and livelihood of people around the world. In 2020, there were an estimated 241 million new cases of malaria and 627,000 malaria-related deaths in 85 countries. More than two-thirds of deaths were among children under the age of 5 living in the WHO African sub-region. World Malaria Day is held each year on April 25th. This annual event is a worldwide effort to raise awareness of malaria and funds for the treatment and prevention of malaria. The day works to highlight the need for better political intervention in malaria control and prevention. The day also marks the continuing great achievements in the fight against malaria. The World Health Organization is putting prevention of malaria to the forefront in this event with the aim of reducing the massive global death toll of 400,000 people to malaria every year. Efforts to highlight prevention has been reducing the death toll, especially through the use of insecticide and mosquito nets, as mosquitoes are the most common carriers and spreaders of malaria. The continued campaign of prevention is proving effective in saving lives, but there is still a long way to go. World Malaria Day and continued awareness and prevention, as well as lobbying for better political support, must continue and increase in order to eradicate the disease and prevent deaths from it. Investment and interest from governments is essential for this continued fight against malaria and related deaths.
Politics is a game. It is about delivering dividends of democracy. For this, accountability is key. So we listen, we follow up on the promise, and we track the progress. Watch Political Spectrum weekdays, 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m., exclusive to Spectrum Television.
Nigerian police, which is the only one allowed by grossly abuse. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the Constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigerian police force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian police force.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My Lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My Lord, the Matters Council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my Lord, but you can't be talking about cases which are in court,
Is
my
this
Lord.
an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my Lord. These cases are in court, my Lord. I'm just reminding your Lordship.
My Lord, sorry, my Lord, I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
Health Organization celebrates World Malaria Day each year on 25th April to underscore the collective energy and commitment of the global malaria community in uniting around the common goal of a world free of malaria. Today, no single tool is available to solve the problem of malaria. Innovative new tools are vital if the world is to achieve global elimination targets, including innovations in new vector control interventions and insecticides, improved diagnostics, and more effective medicines, among other tools. Under the theme, Harness Innovation to Reduce the Malaria Disease Burden and Save Lives, this year's World Malaria Day will draw attention to the critical role innovation plays in helping to achieve global elimination goals. WHO is calling for investment and innovation that bring new vector control approaches, diagnostics, anti-malarial medicines, and other tools to speed the pace of progress against malaria. Despite steady advances in lowering the global burden of malaria between 2000 and 2015, progress has slowed or stalled in recent years, particularly in high-burden countries in sub-Saharan Africa. Urgent and concerted actions is needed to set the world back on a trajectory toward achieving the 2030 targets of the WHO Global Malaria Strategy. Malaria is a preventable and treatable disease that continues to have a devastating impact on the health and livelihood of people around the world. In 2020, there were an estimated 241 million new cases of malaria and 627,000 malaria-related deaths in 85 countries. More than two-thirds of deaths were among children under the age of 5 living in the WHO African sub-region. World Malaria Day is held each year on April 25th. This annual event is a worldwide effort to raise awareness of malaria and funds for the treatment and prevention of malaria. The day works to highlight the need for better political intervention in malaria control and prevention. The day also marks the continuing great achievements in the fight against malaria. The World Health Organization is putting prevention of malaria to the forefront in this event with the aim of reducing the massive global death toll of 400,000 people to malaria every year. Efforts to highlight prevention has been reducing the death toll, especially through the use of insecticide and mosquito nets, as mosquitoes are the most common carriers and spreaders of malaria. The continued campaign of prevention is proving effective in saving lives, but there is still a long way to go. World Malaria Day and continued awareness and prevention, as well as lobbying for better political support, must continue and increase in order to eradicate the disease and prevent deaths from it. Investment and interest from governments is essential for this continued fight against malaria and related deaths.
Politics is a game. It is about delivering dividends of democracy. For this, accountability is key. So we listen, we follow up on the promise, and we track the progress. Watch Political Spectrum weekdays, 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m., exclusive to Spectrum Television.
Nigerian police, which is the only one allowed by grossly abused. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the Constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigerian police force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian police force.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My Lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My Lord, the Matters Council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my Lord, but we can't be talking about cases which are in court,
Is
my Lord.
this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my Lord. These cases are in court, my Lord. I'm just reminding your Lordship.
My Lord, sorry, my Lord, I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
You're still with us. It's still Rise and Shine Monday morning edition. Like to believe that you're having a wonderful time being with us. And today's World Malaria Day, and that's what we are talking about. And we have with us an amazing personality in the house who is going to help talk about malaria. He's a medical practitioner, a doctor by profession. Is none other than Dr. Okeke. Good morning, doctor.
Yeah, good morning, Francis. Good morning, to Abasi.
Oh, good morning. Now we hear that a lot. When you hear Ototo Abasi, you know that it's not someone that is not a Ibibio speaking person. But yes, we excuse that. And good morning and thanks for joining us on the show.
Yeah, please pardon my mispronunciation of your name.
Oh, no, you don't know. I was just saying that on a lighter note.
Yes, sure.
Yeah.
But you know, doctors, one of the things that we have wrong oftentimes when we come to the hospital is trying to understand your handwriting. So on a lighter note, is it like when you're in a medical school, like all the doctors are taught to write in a particular way that the average person cannot understand their handwriting?
Well, yes. Maybe we have a special class where they teach us how to write very illegibly.
Okay.
Just
a way of keeping us away from seeing.
Yeah, yes, I'm being sarcastic. No, the truth is that doctors are always pressured for time. We have a lot of patients to see, so you don't really have time to concentrate on your writing, and then over time you kind of not care about how aesthetic your writing is.
So would you say that has worked advantageously in hiding certain information from ordinary citizens?
No, our intention was not to hide anything from the citizens. Most things that we know are already out there.
Okay.
The drugs we write, the pharmacists know it. If you Google them, you also see them.
But
So
the truth is, you won't even see the drug until a pharmacist looks at it. You wouldn't know the name of the drug. But then, away from that, today is 25th April, and it's World Malaria Day. It's out there, like you said, the information is already out there. Malaria has been the highest killer of child and nursing mothers, and is rated as the highest, or Nigeria is rated as the highest country with the highest infectious cases. And statistically, about 400,000 persons lose their lives per annum as because of malaria. Now, what would you say should be the way forward in terms of tackling malaria? Because the theme for this year is enhancing innovation. What kind of innovation do you think can be introduced apart from mosquito nets that we've seen already in public space? We've already used mosquito nets for quite a number of times, or for many years now, and it seems not to be, reducing the cases of malaria. What's the way forward for malaria?
Thank you, Tabasi. There are a lot of things I need to pick out from this your introductory remark and question. Yes, you are very correct. Malaria is a public health concern. It has taken the lives of so many. As at a decade ago, it was the leading cause of mortality. It's caused about 2.7 million deaths annually before some of the interventions we had. So that's where I beg to differ with you. That some of the interventions we've had has not particularly been working, like the using the nets, then insecticide nets. Formerly, like I said, we used to have a mortality rate of about 2.7 million annually. Now, what we have as at 2020, that's the last official statistics released by WHO on the annual data, and that was about 600,000. 400,000. Yes, even though that's still much, but it's way lower than the 2.7 million we had about a decade ago. Yes, but malaria is a major problem. We have about almost 250 million cases every year, and that is underreported. And that's what we already know, that those that come to the clinic with document, and that's about 250 million cases. Now, there are other things you can't even measure when it comes to malaria, like the loss of manpower, the amount of sick time people take off duty, how much the employers will lose by having persons not working, the amount of school period school children lose when they stay home because of malaria and co. So it's actually a big problem. That's why today, the 25th of April, the whole world has gathered together to lay more emphasis on malaria and shed more light on it.
Okay, so doctor, one of the things that we talked about before you came on the show was the issue of Nigerians, the issue of people generally. We are used to this situation where one feels a slight headache and immediately concludes it's malaria, feels a little bit of fever and immediately concludes it's malaria, and then most times these persons don't necessarily go to the hospital for proper maybe test before getting to take medication from medical experts. How would you advise such group of persons as to handling malaria or handling the different symptoms they feel? Or let me rephrase, is every headache malaria headache? Is every fever malaria fever?
Thank you, Francis. This is a major problem we've been having with this malaria epidemic in our hands. Is people are finding it difficult to appropriately differentiate what is malaria and what is not. It appears malaria is the culprit everybody likes blaming for anything. You have catarrh is malaria, you have headaches malaria, you are weak is malaria, you have a fight with your husband is malaria. It's that's what we see in the medical practice. Most at times in my clinic, we see patients that are coming. I see patients that are coming and say that, oh, doctor, please give me malaria tablets, malaria drugs. I think I know I have malaria. I say, okay. Do you have fever? He says no. Do you have headache? He says no. Are you vomiting? He says no. Are you coughing? He says no. Then why do you believe you have malaria? He says, my body is doing me somehow. My body, So, doctor, I know I'm this fat. I know my body. This is my body. Whenever my body is doing me like this, I have
There's malaria.
So malaria is at times overdiagnosed. Overdiagnosed. So that's why we recommend that before you treat malaria, at least for adults, you should run a malaria diagnostic test. They have like two major types. We have the standard type. That's the microscope. Use a view. You make a slide and view it under a microscope. It could be a thin or thick film slide. I don't want to enter the details, but that could help us make a diagnosis. We could also do what is now readily available as the rapid diagnostic test, RTDs. It will help us. It's easy to use. It's cheap. It doesn't need any expertise. It's just like pregnancy, the way pregnancy test strips are.
Okay.
Use that. It will just tell you whether you have malaria or not, and it's available almost everywhere in all the local drugstores. No?
Okay, yeah. I initially started you off with the theme for this year's World Malaria Day, which is in nursing innovation to find the cure for malaria. Now, I asked about those innovative steps that, as a practitioner, you feel if deployed, could also aid, additionally to the mosquito-treated nets, that method that perhaps you said has been working, because the numbers has reduced. What are those innovations you might introduce? I know that the vaccine has been through a process for over 3 decades now, and we still do not have, some in Nigeria stand to be corrected. What other innovation can be deployed?
Well, when you say innovations, maybe you're thinking, most times people are thinking of something, maybe high-tech, drones, or computers and the rest. Sometimes it may just be that, okay, what you are doing, can you do the basic things well? Take care of environments, make sure they are clean. You may feel these things are very trivial, very elementary, but doing some of these things can go a long way in coping with malaria. I know, so first of all, we have to start with getting our baby foods right first. Diagnosing malaria on time, treating promptly, and then putting in place basic preventive steps. Making sure that we have observed good environmental sanitation and personal hygiene and the likes of it. Now you now go to maybe some newer initiatives that the WHO is trying to push. Like you rightly said, there's a malaria vaccine that has been in the offing for about close to like two decades or thereabout. Sorry. Closer to about 2 decades or thereabout. And I think they just finished the third phase, and it's now available for countries to key into. And as it is now, I don't know that a couple of countries are into the program, Kenya, Ghana, I think, and co, but it's yet to be introduced to Nigeria. That's one big innovation that we have there. And also, we could also have this spraying to kill most of the malarial or not all malaria. Sorry, I didn't first of all say that mosquitoes are not synonymous with malaria.
Okay.
Yeah, not synonymous with malaria.
Well, okay, Doctor, we'll come back after this time out. We'll quickly go on a very brief time out. When we return, this conversation continues. Please stay with us. Good morning and welcome back. Yes, it's still Rise and Shine reaching you live from the beautiful hills of Ibiakuran. And yes, we're still in this conversation of preferring possible innovative solutions to malaria, and also to taking a critical look at some of the many ways malaria is disastrous and has endangered Nigerians. And of course, we're still here with our guest, Dr. Okeke Daniels, who is shedding more light on the subject for us. Okay, just before we went on that time out, we were trying to, give more insight into some innovation. You mentioned that the vaccine is yet to be available in Nigeria,
Yes.
but we have it in other countries. Ghana is also a part of that scheme with the WHO. Are there other ones that you might want to make mention of at the time?
Yes. They have been schemed to try to eradicate mosquitoes that transmit the malaria parasite as a plasmodium species. This has been a bit controversial, but some other countries, Western countries, have done that with great effect. They do this. They use these specialized helicopters to spray a certain geographical location and then to kill all the mosquitoes that transmit malaria. That could work. But others have also argued that it's not all mosquitoes that transmit malaria. And then trying to eradicate all the mosquitoes in an area could actually adversely affect the ecosystem. That they give humans malaria does not necessarily mean that they don't have other benefits that they have on the ecosystem and the food chain, and if you remember your biology. Okay. So now they are trying to say, okay, what some scientists are doing is to make the the mosquitoes sterile, such that they genetically modify them, make them sterile, so that they are unable to harbor the parasite that causes malaria, which is the plasmodium species, and then now release all those sterile mosquitoes into the society. Yes.
So we can be rid of the ones that carry the parasites.
Yes, the ones that carry parasites. But then you have more mosquitoes around. But then those mosquitoes biting you are not transmitting malaria. Yes.
So they're just chopping their life, and you're just giving them food. All right. Now, so your focus as a medical doctor has to do with family, and we know that one of the people that are oftentimes, very vulnerable are the pregnant women and children mostly. As a family doctor, how would you counsel pregnant women, mothers, intending mothers, and mothers with babies and children to go about, protecting their children from being bitten by mosquito and all of that?
Francis, I'm quite happy that you asked this question. Of all the malaria deaths we have, about 80% of the deaths due to malaria are on children, under 5 children. So that's quite alarming. So there are some 80%, and most of these 80% now are in sub-Saharan Africa. And of course, Nigeria contributes the highest number of deaths.
We are the Baba.
31%. That's almost like a third of all the deaths you see malaria is from Nigeria here. That's very alarming. Let me just deviate a bit, because I want to say that the very first death I saw in school as a medical student was that of a young child, 4-year-old male, that died of malaria, cerebral malaria. Then up until then, I didn't really know how deadly or how serious malaria was, and I always felt that, oh, this is malaria. When you have malaria, it's headache, paracetamol, you go and rest, you to go. I didn't know that this could actually lead to people's deaths. Now there are people that are at risk, like you said, the pregnant women, under 5 children, people that have low immune systems, low immune response, like HIV patients, and some others have other illnesses like hematological illnesses, sickle cell patients, and co. And importantly, also importantly, those that are non-immune travelers. When I say non-immune travelers, I mean those that live in non-malaria endemic areas, like maybe the western places, France, US, UK, and co, where there's no malaria, and they now travel down to a place where there's malaria. So they don't have any immune system to even help them fight. All of us, we have been here. So at least we have a little bit of immune system that will help us fight malaria. Also, those people, in fact,
your counsel to us, how would you prevent the vulnerable, the under 5 children and the pregnant women? What are the information strategic or specifically for them to help them stay?
They have a lot of programs for them. For the pregnant women, once you come to the antenatal clinic, they look out for signs of malaria. They give in some local governments, they give them free insecticide-treated nets for them to sleep under, they and their newborn babies. And then they are given what we call intermittent preventive therapy in pregnancy, IPT in pregnancy, where sulfadoxine and pyrimethamine, what we popularly call Fancida, is given to them at week 16 and week 20. That's in second trimester. Given to them 3 doses a month apart each. This will help prevent the deadly effects of malaria on them, because malaria has been shown to cause, of course, maternal deaths, causes intrauterine growth restriction. That's the mother coming out with small babies, or even uterine fetal death. That's child dying, either abortion or stillbirths.
Okay. Well, I'm concerned with this part because countries like US don't have malaria. They have because there are no mosquitoes there, and it did not affect their ecosystem. So why is the argument that if the same method is brought to Nigeria, the idea of maybe getting an helicopter to fumigate some part of some communities or part of the country to ensure that the mosquitoes are taken out, why is the argument that it will affect the ecosystem in Africa or in Nigeria?
Yeah, it's some of these things they are not the policies that you can readily just use. Some of them are very cost effective. I know you remember the scandal of was it last year, where the Ministry of Health said they were going to wanted to loan $200 million to buy insecticide net to manage malaria, and then everybody were up in arms, screaming and shouting. And I don't. So some of these policies may not be
very visible
in our in our vicinity. Yeah, you can imagine the sheer amount of land mass Nigeria has. How would you now cover that with an helicopter spray? I don't know whether it's realistic.
Well, what's the place of research now? Is it that there's no proper research as to how the viability of that?
Yes, there's research ongoing. In fact, there's this program we have, the rollback malaria program being organized by the Ministry of Health, and one of their key pillars is focused research. So a lot of research has been ongoing and is still ongoing. What we now advocate, or the WHO advocates now, is we use, instead of using these sprays, insecticide sprays, Raid, Mobile, I don't want to marketing bodies products here, we should use indoor residual sprays that you spray them in your house once a year, and they stay in the walls, and then offer you a year-long protection against mosquitoes.
How accessible are these indoor residual sprays?
They're actually there. They are there. If you ask, they are there.
So is it like something you can walk into a pharmacy and then you ask for them and you get to buy it? Or is something that you have to go to the hospital or designated hospitals to get it?
I don't think they are readily available. I think there's offices services that they offer. So there are people that offer that. Maybe if you so most likely those are to deal with environmental sanitation and fumigation would offer those services. So more, of course, as much as we are looking at the high-falutin things, the basic ones also. Use of insecticide-treated nets. It's been shown to work. and it's still working.
Under the hot temperature in Nigeria.
That's
and no electricity.
I don't think it's because of the heat. Yeah, I sleep under the net, and I don't think there's any difference between me sleeping on a net and when I leave it open. No, I think it's just the perception that you are being caged or something of that nature. It's a mindset. Once you are able to walk past that mindset, you actually enjoy using the net.
Well, thank you very much for coming through on the program and sharing your thoughts with us. We've been speaking with Dr. Daniel Okeke. And Doctor, your last thoughts on this subject before we call it a day.
Malaria is a big issue in our society. I want us to, at least, if not for anything, so we wait for the government, do the little you can, put nets on sleep under your net, insect nets, put nets on your doors and your windows, clear all the pools of water around you, and keep your environment hygienic.
You've said it all. Basically, those are the basic and most simplest way to prevent malaria. And just like they say, prevention is better than cure. Yes, there's that we can do. And while government works towards doing their bit, yes, we can also do our bit to ensure that we have a malaria-free society. Yes, that's what reported on this segment. We'll be back to take the remains of Rise and Shine. Don't go away.
World Health Organization celebrates World Malaria Day each year on 25th April to underscore the collective energy and commitment of the global malaria community in uniting around the common goal of a world free of malaria. Today, no single tool is available to solve the problem of malaria. Innovative new tools are vital if the world is to achieve global elimination targets, including innovations in new vector control interventions and insecticides, improved diagnostics, and more effective medicines, among other tools. Under the theme, Harness Innovation to Reduce the Malaria Disease Burden and Save Lives, this year's World Malaria Day will draw attention to the critical role innovation plays in helping to achieve global elimination goals. WHO is calling for investment and innovation that bring new vector control approaches, diagnostics, anti-malarial medicines, and other tools to speed the pace of progress against malaria. Despite steady advances in lowering the global burden of malaria between 2000 and 2015, progress has slowed or stalled in recent years, particularly in high-burden countries in sub-Saharan Africa. Urgent and concerted actions is needed to set the world back on a trajectory toward achieving the 2030 targets of the WHO Global Malaria Strategy. Malaria is a preventable and treatable disease that continues to have a devastating impact on the health and livelihood of people around the world. In 2020, there were an estimated 241 million new cases of malaria and 627,000 malaria-related deaths in 85 countries. More than two-thirds of deaths were among children under the age of 5 living in the WHO African sub-region. World Malaria Day is held each year on April 25th. This annual event is a worldwide effort to raise awareness of malaria and funds for the treatment and prevention of malaria. The day works to highlight the need for better political intervention in malaria control and prevention. The day also marks the continuing great achievements in the fight against malaria. The World Health Organization is putting prevention of malaria to the forefront in this event with the aim of reducing the massive global death toll of 400,000 people to malaria every year. Efforts to highlight prevention has been reducing the death toll, especially through the use of insecticide and mosquito nets, as mosquitoes are the most common carriers and spreaders of malaria. The continued campaign of prevention is proving effective in saving lives, but there is still a long way to go. World Malaria Day and continued awareness and prevention, as well as lobbying for better political support, must continue and increase in order to eradicate the disease and prevent deaths from it. Investment and interest from governments is essential for this continued fight against malaria and related deaths.
glad to have you back. Yes, this is your Rise and Shine, reaching you live from the beautiful hills of Ibiaku, and it's time to unwind already, Francis.
Please, let's go to it right away.
The funny video.
Don't do for Brighton, one for Manchester, one for London. I never hear anything, no, nobody know they go. I don't know when phone calls start to the enter stream machine for Europe. Mobile phone not the enter. No, I don't see her for Ghana, but never they talk anything. And early morning they come out.
Hello, Rockball. Alpha.
No.
We don't make money for the show.
Eh?
We don't make.
For those crowd?
You mean that? So no money come out at all?
No money come out. I see the crowd. I'll go candy share myself. I see the crowd. I've been as beautiful the show yesterday.
So no money come out?
Oh, but wait, may I call you back? Make I serious when you call.
Okay. Yeah, no problem. I'll explain to them.
You know they talk to anybody. Oh, but this guy just want them to fly.
You know, those situations where you pretend as if you are on a call and then it just happens. His own is actually, he was saved. But
Yeah.
I've seen situations where one pretends to be on a call and then another call comes and you're like, oh, what happened?
No, that thing is a lifesaver. It's a lifesaver. If you need to make an urgent fake call to escape a situation, or you're in a place you don't like, you can just do that to, save yourself. In the whole, we'll leave you with the words that be vigilant and maintain peace, of course.
Of course, ensure that as you go about your daily duty, keep your environment clean, keep your office space clean, and take the necessary preventive measures to ensure that you don't get bitten by a mosquito. Stay safe, stay healthy.
Of course, that's enough. Stay safe, stay healthy, and maintain peace. My name is Otobasitam, and that's it for the show on the Monday edition.
And I am Francis Edit. Bye-bye.